Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello viewers, welcome back to our course on ESD. Last class we were discussing about sustainable leadership, how sustainable leadership is very important, how the bottom line of sustainability can be incorporated in leadership traits, attributes. So, to continue with that, now let us see what are the attributes of sustainable leaders. Sustainable leaders in the present day context. As you can see, these are some of the some of the attributes of sustainable leaders. We can say the behaviors of sustainable leaders. So, it is not just about having the vision, mission, goals and targets, etc., but also what are the other attributes. So, first thing is as you can see, the promoting the company's visions. Of course, in whichever organization, institution the leader is working, so he has taken the responsibility. So, promoting the company's views, the organizational vision and mission, that is the first thing, as you can see. With the long term strategy, for not just the trust building, but also meeting the triple bottom line approaches for the developing the policies to achieve the goals. Second is that operationalizing the CSR again. So, how the CSR concept components are to be operationalized, that is how the policies, how the CSR policies can be addressed in integrating them into the social, into the everyday process, into the social processes, into the social benefits and economic benefits, that is another thing. Operationalizing the CSR things. Third is the obtaining the top management support. Yes, suppose the leader is trying to do something in a very different way, innovative way, etc., how to seek the leadership, that means seniors support. So, that in for getting the resources, for the ensuring the quality, for enhancing the responsibilities, enhancing his responsibilities, like in disseminating the disseminating the information and strategic operation of the plans for the not just for the company, but for the welfare of the people also. So, how to get the management support for implementing his strategic plan for and execution of these plans. Then fourth is engaging the diverse stakeholders. Of course, whenever they are designing something, some goals and visions and missions, they have to develop a culture of peace, culture of togetherness, cohesive culture, teamwork. So, engaging the diverse stakeholders, it not just for only for the direct stakeholders or the investors or the suppliers, but for the indirect stakeholders also. So, they have to, so it has to be, you can say it has to be based on some relationship characterized by the reciprocal commitments, then concern and responsibilities. So, that is why engaging the diverse stakeholders. So, from the different, those who are direct as well as those who are indirect. So, all categories, all types of stakeholders should equally participate in this process. Then empowering and developing the stakeholders. So, the leader's job is not just to perform, but also to train, but also to educate, but also to motivate others to learn the new competencies and the skills. So, that skill development and competency development can also take place. Then communicating with the stakeholders, from time to time feedback, continuous communication should also be given from time to time for better clarity, better better trust building, and for addressing the emerging challenges, for updating the skills and competencies, for all kinds of things. Communicating, that means efficient communications, using the multimedia, multiple modes and channels of communication with the different stakeholders from time to time, that is updating about the progress of the work that has to be done. Second, again, is the measuring the performance, as we have already discussed how to measure the performance outcome, learning outcome, solutions, how effective the solution has been. So, among the stakeholders who has been benefited in whichever way, in which way. So, measuring the performance is also a very important role, important requirement, important job and responsibility. And again, developing, that is a, in every company there is a HR department, they develop different, not just the different kinds of training tools, but also different kinds of appraisal formats, tools for measurement, etc. So, measuring the performance. Then setting the ethical standard. Again, nowadays is ethical standard, that means that is another dimension, not just the legal dimension, but also ethical standard also are to be there. So, whatever you do, you perform, you achieve, you solve your problems, but it has to meet the ethical guidelines. So, ethical guidelines in terms of all the three domains, like in environmental eco-friendly way, socially, so for the social for the social and welfare and well-being, and economically, prospering or the profitable or cost effective. So, these kinds, so both the economical, social, environmental as well as the ethical standards are to be met. So, these are the, you can say, these are the 8 behavioral dimensions of the leaders, sustainable leaders. So, these are the 8 dimensions, domains where the sustainable leaders, they have to perform and they have to excel, they have to achieve and they have to evaluate the impact. So, so there is nowadays there is a growing social pressure on the companies to consider people, planet, profit. So, every companies, every organizations nowadays are under pressure and to apply, that means it is a mandatory component, it is a mandatory component to fulfill these 3 triple bottom line or sustainability framework or criteria, both inside and outside of your business, both, and in order to respond to the different multiple stakeholders. So, it is more of multiple stakeholder partnership and sustainability framework, you have to ensure it from the very beginning. So, therefore, organizations are in need of, desperate need of sustainable leaders. So, definitely they are more dependent on the leaders. So, the leaders who can make a balance in between these 3 domains, as well as they can achieve the goals of for the organization, and they can satisfy all the stakeholders and they can sustain the business. So, these are the 2 challenges, how to adopt this triple bottom line or sustainability framework in the business, and how to measure its impact and to ensure the sustainable future and to satisfy the variety of stakeholders or the diverse stakeholders. So, as you can see, therefore, here that is the sustainability mindset is very much required, that is a kind of mindset, that is long term orientation, your perspective or your a strong interior sense of purpose combined with a long term orientation and an inherent motivation to meet the triple bottom line. So, sustainability mindset has to be created, has to not just within the leader, but among the follower, among the worker, among the stakeholders also. So, so that is the how to not just to get the solution, but also for the long term orientation for it to meet the bottom line, triple bottom line guidelines. Then systems thinking, still system thinking is to have a holistic perspective, holistic vision, to have an intellectual flexibility and reflexivity to have a bigger picture, to think for the larger community, to think for the larger society. So, as well as to appreciate the details with the shift of the perspective to that means go beyond the present and go beyond the interest of one community, but in order to develop a strategy that will inspire the all stakeholders, that is to develop a big picture, holistic perspective of whatever we are going to do, or whatever business, whatever strategy you are adopting, having a bigger picture, larger picture, that is called the systems thinking, having the intellectual flexibility, dynamicity and acumen to satisfy all types of stakeholders and make them equally participate in this process of development. Then relationship building. Relationship building definitely is the first pillar of, you can say, basic pillar of the leadership traits and behaviors. Relationship building, that is that means you have to, the leaders knowingly or unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously, every time, every moment, he is being observed by every stakeholder, by every member of the group. So, that is why he has to justify his behavior, whatever he is saying, he is behaving, even from his body language, it is also. So, that every moment he has been monitored and evaluated. That is why here whatever he should say, that means he should say, he has to exhibit it, he has to perform it, he has to justify. So, he has to, that means he has to walk the talk and talk the walk. That means whatever he is saying, he has to show it, exhibit it, demonstrate it, as well as whatever he is demonstrating, it should go along with the with his statements and the viewpoints. So, that is why an understanding of the people across across the culture, he has to be again culture fair, he has to be, he must have that cross cultural cross cultural intelligence, he must be diversity friendly, he must be democratic in its outlook, he must be very flexible, open minded, he has the long term relationship and network and wide network with all the key stakeholders, he maintains that relationship. So, this relationship building again is also another domain of requirement or the for the leaders, because not that he is leaders are more focused on the present target of the project, but they have to engage themselves, they have to maintain that relationship network with the past, with the present, with the future. So, they have to they have to that means develop that network and maintain that network. So, here as you can see, people who are in people engaging people in positive behaviors, that is one aspect. Facilities are like reducing the financial and environmental impact of the build of the environment, whatever we are doing or will be doing business or whatever, that it must have the minimum impact, negative impact on the environment. It should be eco-friendly and financial also, it should be reducing financial cost, that is it should be cost effective. Resources, optimizing the flow and consumption of resources with minimum or requirement responsible consumptions of the resources, and the organizations, they need to establish the culture and strategic goals to save the money and create a thriving workplace, where they have to demonstrate that how much they are achieving with the minimum minimum resource utilization and maximum maximum profit. That means minimum damage to the environment, minimum depletion to the environmental resource, and maximizing the benefits to the workforce, benefits to the workplace, benefits to the planet in terms of its CSR activities, in terms of its production, in terms of its service, in terms of it restoring or investing in the environmentally eco-friendly or environmentally sustainable things like plantations and organic doing the organic things and taking care of the health, also community health, all kinds of things. So, these are the what are the CSR activities they are engaged in, whether these are eco-friendly, sustainable or not, that is also another aspect. So, these three domains we can see: sustainability mindset, inner thought process, systems thinking, having a global perspective, holistic perspective, what you are going to do, what would be its larger implications for the sustainable future, for the people, for the all categories of stakeholders. Then the relationship building, that is maintaining that network being carried on from the past to the present to the future. So, now sustainability mindset, what is that? Key competencies of the leaders, sustainable leaders, that means sustainability mindset. What is that sustainability mindset? That is moving from me to we. Always the leaders, they should think in terms of the togetherness, and they think of in terms of the teamwork in the group setup. So, that is that enlightened first. So, these are some of these competencies, key competencies for the sustainable leaders. As you can see, enlightened self-interest. Enlightened self-interest, like seeing the stakeholders in the broadest sense, for example, including the future generation. Self-interest, that means enlightened self, it is not just confined to the organizational goals or a particular group's goals or mission, but also broaden, in the broadened sense of for the different stakeholders, what would be looking at the different perspectives of the requirements of the diverse people and how it is going to affect the future generation, what would be its impact, what would be its performance outcome, what would be its logical implication not just for the present situation, present generation or the current organization, but for the future generation. So, enlightened self interest, the self interest, the motive, the objective, this it should be enlightened enough to take into the future perspective and the all stakeholders perspective. Then long term orientation, definitely it must have the long term orientation for the long term implications without any without any short term objectives. So, that means it has to have the focus for the long term sustainability of the organization or the planet. Then pre-sensing, that means, so from the gut feeling now, before acting upon, before actually implementing anything, he must have some gut feeling to not just to have an insight about feeling of one's own possibilities and the purpose, as well as the state of being in the present moment, as well as sensing the future happenings. What could be the future outcomes, what could be the future approach, future sustainability, future impact from these decisions. So, he must have to have pre-sensing, he must have some insightful feeling, some insightful thoughts, some insightful can say intuitive ideas about not just about the present, but also present moments, but also for the future, and as well as inspiring others to work together in the pursuit of the larger vision, larger goals, integrating both the careful observation of the situation, quiet reflection, analysis, reactions. That means, pre-sensing not just about the present, but the future possibilities of exploring the new avenues and opportunities, and inspiring others and motivating others to work together. Okay. So, then so here again, that is why from moving from me or I to we, always the leader should focus on we. So, then courage, he must have the courage to take the risk taking behavior for the leaders, courage to manage the resources, to overcome all kinds of hurdles, to overcome all kinds of resistance, to convince others, to persuade others, and to take the right decision, make the right decision, and must be willing to work in the most adverse situation also, and he has to sustain over the work overload also, and he has to acquire and must have the access to first hand information. So, this he must have the courage and self confidence and guts to take the risk for before acting upon, before implementing any strategy. So, that is then integrity, definitely integrity is in terms of demonstrating the honesty and integrity and values and ethical standards, and and professional commitments, and you can say professional commitments towards the community, towards the stakeholder. So, that honesty, integrity, and the values and ethical standards should be there, should reflect on his behavior. Then open mindedness, displaying in inviting the new options, new schemes, new ideas from others. He should not be he should not have any kind of prejudice or any kind of stereotypes or any kind of very rigid belief system. So, he should be open minded in the sense that welcoming the new ideas, thoughts, and the possibilities also. So, transparency, of course, this integrity and transparency also go hand in hand in terms of like he has to explain, he has to justify everything for all his statements, be it decision making, be it resource utilization, be it the setting the goals, objectives. He has to explain and convince and persuade everybody and justify his own action plans and strategies. And also equally act upon the feedback, the critical feedback he receives and reinforce it with the behavior, with the behavior of logical behavior, rational behavior, the behavior on act upon the feedback, critical feedback that he receives from others, and so that he can minimize the negative impact, minimize the worst you can results, or at least he becomes very alert. He has to be very cautious and alert in in before executing any action plan. He has to take all the precautionary measures starting from open minded ideas, new ideas, to critical thinking, to critical feedback, and to to evaluate each and every perspective. So, these are some of the sustainability mindset that so that starting from the facing the problem, analyzing the problem, to making action plan, and just before the up to the level of execution and implementation. So, all these things, all kinds of mental preparation, all kinds of learning, all kinds of information, all kinds of ethical standards, values, morals, transparency, and other kinds of intuitive thoughts, all kinds of higher order thinking skills and competencies, starting from the planning to the execution, are considered to be the key competencies of sustainable leaders in the cognitive domain, that is called the sustainability mindset. That thereafter you can say two systems thinking, zooming in on two systems thinking. Another, what is that systems thinking? Number two is systems thinking, having the global perspective, holistic perspective. They are seeing the bigger picture not just in terms of objectives and the goals, but also in terms of stakeholders need satisfaction, in terms of its impact on the environment, in terms of its cost effectiveness, in terms of its future. Sometimes some situations are very complex. So, the task is not just to resolve the complex problem, but also mitigate the problems in such a way that so in future it may not rise again, or how it can be minimized, how it can be managed and minimize, the problems can be minimized, or how it can be made more simplified, more simple and sustainable for every stakeholder. Then appreciating the details in the sense that successful execution of any strategy, it depends on getting the details right. So, all the details, nitty-gritties have to be clarified, logistics have to be prepared. So, that is that means willingness to zoom in and as required to get into the root cause of issues, and zoom out the equally fast to regain the big picture perspectives. Not only that means analyze in detail in the micro level, but also to analyze it at the macro level. So, both zooming in and zooming out. Zooming in is to go to the details of these things, and zooming out, that is the looking at the holistic perspective, that is also important. Maintaining a balanced decision making process. So, considering both the global and the local needs, local products, local resources, perspectives, everything. So, thinking globally and acting locally. Okay. So, to take care of both the local, national as well as the global needs of the people. So, and keeping it simple. So, as simple as possible, that means fundamentally how to make the business processes, products and organization very flexible, very very simple and very user friendly, very customer friendly. Okay. So, all the services and products, etc., solutions are to be very easy to understand. So, that a layman can also understand it and practice it. So, it has to that means it has to be made understood that all the customers they should understand its processes, and they can equally participate, because here not just the leader has solved the problem and he has taken all the credit, but it has to be developed, it has to be made a routine work or a practice or habit among the workers also, among the participants also, among the co-workers also. So, how to keep it as simple as possible, as user friendly, as people friendly, as customer friendly, as eco friendly, and as cheap, like we can say cost effective in terms of its expenses on maintenance also. That is the systems thinking. These are the perspectives of systems thinking. Then relationship building, or connecting to others and collaborating, etc. So, relationship mainly understanding across the culture. The leader, they need to have the diverse knowledge of especially the cultural aspect, cultural knowledge of different practices, cultural practices, habits, people's habits, starting habits, their value system, their socialization process, all kinds of things. So, that makes that enhancing the knowledge and ability to recognize, interpret and react appropriately to people and organizations and different stakeholders. For example, in China, even within Asia also, Chinese culture, Japanese culture and Indian culture. And these are the cultural practices and rituals also vary. So, that also give something like some kind of we have to understand, we need to understand it. Like for example, remaining silent for, or suppose somebody is asking you some questions, so you are maintaining silence without giving any answer. So, silence can have 3 interpretation in different culture. Okay. So, in silence means in some culture, in one culture maybe that, in our culture it remains, that means you have given the consent. Whereas, the silence mean it can say that you are opposing that statement decision. And some other silence means so there may be some other interpretations. So, depending on the cultural practices and language and the rituals and their cultural traditions, so the behavioral interpretation can also vary, and the leaders, they need to understand it. Then appreciating and embracing this diversity, So, that before starting any work, any strategic plan and implementation in any particular culture, then first thing is that leaders they have to map the diversity in terms of in terms of the range of diversity, in the sense that their background, their culture, their abilities, their skills, and who are the stakeholders, what are their expectations, their their requirements, even there are all kinds of the diversity that exists, to map it, and to first thing is to understand it, to map it, and how can he do something, how can he design a plan which can fulfill all the categories of all the diverse stakeholders. So, we can say eliminating the unfair treatment, managing diversity, maximizing the potential benefit of the execution of the plans. So, leveraging diversity with the benefit of a diverse organization. So, nowadays diversity in the organization is a mandatory component. We can say the more diverse you are, that means you are more global, the company is more global. So, here it is not enough that you just invite and welcome diversities with your slogans and the brand name, etc., but we need to understand it, you need to identify the potentials of diversities, strengths and weaknesses of diversity. You have to introduce some laws of diversity to manage diversity, and from there managing diversity, then you have to leverage it, then to transform it, to convert it to the advantages. So, that is also that is appreciating, embracing the diversity. That is also another thing. Networking is the very important aspect, that is the recognizing, acting upon sustainable business opportunities, building upon the relationship with the different stakeholders, and maintaining that relationship for the future. Then facilitating the meaningful dialogue. Yes, of course, for development, that means for understanding others' perspective, viewpoint, etc., the leaders, they need to develop the communication skill, especially the listening skill, because the listening skill and demonstrating the ability to make the decision, and how to take into account the collective decision and the collective basis of enabling and getting the willingness of the people, and how to encourage others to others to participate in a sustainable way. So, these are some of that means, so that he can facilitate a meaningful dialogue. That means everybody, every stakeholder, every participant can have a discussion, threadbare discussion, conversation, dialogue, and they can better explain each and everybody's perspective. They can clarify the doubts. Now they are convinced, all of them, they are convinced together and move together. So, that is to encourage the sustainable language, then convincing skeptical stakeholders the benefits of a sustainable course of action, managing conflicts, mediating between the different stakeholders interest, and aligning them with the desired group goal. Like not just listening there and understanding their perspective, but they are also having the dialogue with them, with each type of stakeholder, to let them explain their standpoint, their position, to justify it, and how to bring all the stakeholders' requirements, needs, and viewpoints to a common platform, through mediating, mediating, moderating everything, so that all the stakeholders' interest can be aligned together to achieve the desired goal. Then empowering, yes, of course, here sustainable leadership also not just train and develop the skills and competency among others, but also empower others through training, through knowledge, through power, through autonomy, through delegating some tasks. So, that in giving the stakeholders the kind of autonomy, allowing them to solve the problems, allowing them to take freedom and autonomy to take the decision, and providing them all kinds of intellectual simulations, support, engaging them with the worker, giving them sustainability support, with guiding them in the goals and objectives, So, that is the empowering, not just in terms of knowledge and information, but in terms of developing the competencies and the skills, at the same time also in performance. Then measuring the improvements, then ultimately whatever we do, it has to be assessed, it has to be evaluated and measured. So, fine tuning, ultimately measurement helps us in fine tuning the analytical and reflective ability to measure the improvements, both quantitatively and qualitatively, then in multiple dimensions and beyond the bottom line results, but also at the same time gauging the impact that decisions will have on the various stakeholders, assessing the whether this relationship among the stakeholders shows reciprocity in terms of commitments, responsibilities, benefits, whether it brings win-win solutions or not, win-win situation or not. So, all kinds of things, analysis and reflective activities to assess, to evaluate the efficacy and efficiency of these performance outcomes, and to ensure whether it is sustainable or not. So, here relationship building, connecting and collaborating, and to work together to get the solution, and again evaluate that solution for its sustainable usefulness. So, here right now I am just concluding it. In the next class we will start with the topic, but discuss the other perspectives, other aspects of sustainable leadership. So, thank you very much.